I was listening to podcast Joe Rogan,
Mm-hmm.
and he had Elon Musk on his podcast. This was kind of recently. Elon Musk was talking about he's a multimillionaire, billionaire. He has a lot of money because he has so many companies. People buy his stuff, but he's
a very quirky dude.
Yeah, he was saying that even though he has a lot of money, he doesn't want to buy like a house or build a nice house. So he has sold all his stuff, except for like one house, just to live in. Because he said it was taking up too much of his time. He wants to spend all his time on creating something just for the future. With that, like SpaceX or this other project that he's working on, that is, he's trying to create
a brain chip.
A brain chip that what you do is they just make a small cut in the back of your head.
In your skull, man.
And then take out a chunk of skull, put it into your brain, and then sew it back up, basically. And they can take that chip and download things to your brain, like a computer. He said that
he says he thinks it'll work.
He thinks it'll work, and he thinks, like, you could learn a different language, like, instantaneously. Like, you just download the software to learn a different language.
Or you can reverse, you can halt and reverse things like Alzheimer's. That you can, communicate with people without having to speak. You know what I mean? Crazy stuff like that. That's essentially Joe Rogan talks about crazy stuff, man.
He's very odd person.
He has some crazy conversations, but it's such an interesting idea. It's a scary idea to think about that much progress and to be like, what is that going to make the world like?
Yeah, but
what is that going to turn people into? What is that going to? I mean, Elon Musk talks about how he does it because he's afraid. Oh, he's saying it's inevitable that AI is going to take over the world.
But he
super intelligence, super artificial intelligence is going to take over everything, and you have to progress with that.
I think we should go back a step because we're kind of going forward. We're not.
Okay, go ahead.
Go take a step back in why he just sold all his stuff.
Okay.
Because he wants to focus on creating something for the future. He said it was taking up too much time of his time just worried about a house. He said he has a mind and he values his mind so much that he doesn't want to waste it for just building a house. And the way he views that is just, it's crazy.
I think it's beautiful. There was a while where I was thinking very much about this is kind of something I think it's healthy for everyone to think about, but what kind of legacy they're going to leave. Because obviously we don't live forever. We have limited time. And so you have to try to make the most of your time, whether selfishly for other people or however you want to view it. You're kind of in control of how you live your life. And so that what kind of legacy has always been like very physical for a while, you know what I mean? And in the past couple years, there's always been this motivation, but like almost the physical aspects of my motivations and my passions and ideas and thoughts have kind of dwindled, the physical side of it. The only reason I used to think like, okay, I want to have a company that makes tons of money and we can do all this cool stuff with all this money. And that's fine, but there's an aspect of it excuse me. There's an aspect of it where I'm thinking more along the lines of, okay, how do I use the money for the betterment of people? And like I was saying, going back to earlier when I was saying that, how do I affect capitalistic culture, the American culture, in a way that's positive? There are things that I think starting a business is good because you directly affect some like 80% of your employee's life. Unless you can, and that's the thing, unless you can decide my company's not going to dictate as much time, so they have more time with their friends and their family, and they can go on trips and have a life outside of work. So it's not like a 9 to 5, it's more like a 9 to 3, 6 hours of a day a work week, or in a week, instead of 8 hours a day. Those are kind of things. And then also being able to pay them more than what just the standard pay for that job requires in the States,